Welcome back, everybody. Time again for another Word Balloon comic book conversation. This is John Suntress. Very excited to welcome Julie and Shawna Benson to Word Balloon. The sister writing team has taken over Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, and they're off to a fantastic start. They've had 2 issues in the can. Number 3 is coming out September 14th, and I am a fan. I've been a fan of various runs of Birds of Prey, was a huge Gail Simone fan, and really have to say that this is a great start and another great DC Rebirth comic. So it's a pleasure to talk to them. Of course, they're also television writers. They write for The 100 on the CW, and I've been corrected. It isn't The 100, it is The 100. That show is going into its 4th season. It doesn't have a debut date yet. In fact, the Bensons talk about that, and we get a little behind-the-scenes information of how their writer room works, and also just some various background things that I think 100 fans will find very interesting. I can't say I do watch The 100, but I got to say I've learned about the premise listening to the Bensons on other interviews, and it's intrigued me. So I think I will kind of put away some time and try to catch up on The 100 before the 4th season starts. But really great conversation. They are one of us, or 2 of us, I guess, in this case. And we talk about the nerd stuff they loved growing up. They're big fans of British sci-fi, as we'll learn. And they're also people from Central Illinois, where I went to college, I should say. And so it's great to learn more about another couple of Illinois people. Shawna and Julie Benson on today's Word Balloon. It's all brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you very much, League, for your support. It does mean a lot. I've got so many interviews coming up, and also with the Comic-Con, Cincy Comic-Con coming up this coming weekend, September 11th weekend, from the 9th through the 11th. I will have panels that I'll be presenting before the Word Balloon audience hears them, but the Patreon audience will get them first, and I'm looking forward to that. I always try to do that every year. I try to do it any time I get a real backload of shows. And so it's my way of thanking the Patreon people for their support. If you want to help and subscribe to Word Balloon, it's not necessary. Word Balloon is free. But if you want to help the cause, I have a Patreon page, and your contribution would be great. Can you spare $1 a month? That would be great. I try to put out a good number of hours each month of conversation that involves the geek world, and I think it's worthy of support. So if you agree and you think it's pretty good, and think about it, you spend $3 to $5 on a comic book. It takes you about, if you're lucky, 15 minutes to read if you're really, really slow. And Word Balloon meanwhile provides several hours of conversation with the creators, getting their behind-the-scenes stories in a way that, frankly, I don't think you get anywhere else. So thank you very much, League, for your support. And Word Balloon is also brought to you by In-Stock Trades at InStockTrades.com. Normally, I'd say let's look up a bunch of Shawna and Julie Benson works to do, but they've only got 2 issues going so far. So instead, let's look at some former runs of Birds of Prey. And I point some of these out because it's part of the problem. I mean, there's a lot of great books out there, but listen to this. You can get Birds of Prey, trade paperback volume 1, written by Chuck Dixon, Greg Land, and Gary Frank, among the artists, and that is 42% off. It's just $11.59. You can also get the Birds of Prey hardcover Volume 1. It's called Enron, and it comes out of Brightest Day, but this time it's Gail Simone, Ed Benes, Adriana Mello, and Alvin Lee. It is 42% off and $13.33. You can also get Birds of Prey Volume 1, trade paperback, Trouble in Mind. That is Dwayne Swarzynski's run on the Birds of Prey. All very interesting, all very good, but, in this story, is Black Canary guilty of murder? It's the first 7 issues of Swarzynski's run on Birds of Prey, and it is 42% off. It's only $8.69. There are lots of runs and trades of Birds of Prey featuring Chuck Dixon, Gail Simone, Christy Marks, Dwayne Swarzynski. Go to InStockTrades.com. Feast on the Birds of Prey books that are available to you at great prices. You're not going to believe it. I'm teasing in terms of obviously all the volume 1s, but obviously really great stuff. InStockTrades.com. Okay, enough fun. Let's get to this awesome conversation with Julie and Shawna Benson. I'm really excited. I met them in San Diego. They couldn't have been nicer. Pants from Comic Geek Speak, a good friend, is like, hey, they're cool. And that was very good to know. And I heard Pants' interview with them, and he did a great job. So they had my log to the fire of the fine conversation that you can hear with the Bensons. In fact, Julie appears a lot on Ben Blacker's excellent Nerdist Comics Writers panel show. In fact, there's a discussion from last week that I still haven't gotten to about Thor. And Heath Corson and Ben and Julie all talk about Thor. So just if you're not satisfied with what you get here, a couple other options for you of other great podcasts. But now here's my conversation with Julie and Shawna Benson on Word Balloon. Julie and Shawna Benson, it is a pleasure to have you on Word Balloon. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
We were just going over the fact that we're all Illinois people.
Yes, we are Midwestern folk.
You're Central Illinois people, right?
Central Illinois. Grew up in Morton, home of Libby's Pumpkin Cannery. So if you've ever had Libby's on the label, you will like it on your table.
I remember that commercial. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So is Morton on Highway 55 or 57?
It
55,
is
right?
On the 74.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I went to Illinois State.
It's about 20 miles west of Bloomington.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And I worked in the Peoria radio market at a Bloomington station. It was WIHN, and it was 97.
Yeah.
But like 96 point something.
Yeah, we would have listened to that because we were, I wouldn't say equidistant. We were closer to Peoria than Bloomington, but we were pretty close to half and half.
Yeah. And then I went to school in Chicago and lived there for quite a few years, so I miss the old Windy City.
Julie.
Yes, Julie.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. All right. Excellent. And yeah, and you guys did. So that was Julie, and Shawna speak again.
Yes, this is Shawna.
Excellent.
Julie.
I have more of a baritone thing happening, so.
Gotcha. And where did you go to school, Shawna?
I went to U of I in Chambanaland.
Oh, cool. Oh, you see, and that was our oasis.
Yeah, right.
Because Bloomington sucked.
Out in the middle of the cornfields. That's.
Oh yeah. But it really, Champaign was like little Chicago.
It was.
In terms of the fun stuff you could do.
Yeah, I mean, actually, most people wouldn't think of it as being a metropolitan urban type area, but there were parts of the city that were very gentrified, very Chicago-like, because there are just so many Chicagoans there.
Right, and I know Roger Ebert grew up around there, and he kind of helped I think bring prominence to the city, and certainly he would come down with his film festival and stuff like that.
He supported the independent film theaters that existed there. I saw a lot of movie at the Fine Art.
Very cool. I got to, I spent 10 years at WXRT in Chicago and the sports station, The Score, and got to know actually Siskel better than Ebert.
Oh, wow.
But I did know them both, and great guys, and I miss them both, and they were really smart film critics and very down-to-earth guys, and it was really cool during the Bulls championship years.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So we're out there covering the game, and of course they're out there watching the game. Right. Gene was a huge Bulls fan.
Yeah, I got to meet Gene once, but it was ironically while I was living in Florida. After I graduated U of I went to Florida and worked for Disney. This is Shawna. And working for Disney, I worked on a radio program that was about Walt Disney World. It was pretty much an hour-long commercial for Disney World, but we did celebrity interviews. And so whoever was sort of in town and visiting the parks, we would get them to interview for the show. And he was in town, and I remember having to run out. And I mean, this was maybe I was 21, 22, so I was pretty young. And I remember just having to run out in the pouring rain to go find a newspaper so that they could go through what the movies were in the theaters. They could talk about the movies in release, and he could, give his little capsule reviews of stuff that was out. So
you're 1,000 years old because you guys couldn't just look up the movie.
That's right. We had
exactly. It was pre-internet. Sure, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, they were great guys, and Siskel was a big horse player, and honestly, we'd run into him a lot on big Derby Day, and also more so the Breeders' Cup.
Oh, no way!
Which happens in November, and yeah, that's I stop everything, and the Derby I'll take and leave, but Breeders' Cup I usually am in an OTB somewhere, and I used to wind up in downtown Chicago and be hanging with Siskel would be there, and he'd join us. It was a lot of fun.
That's wild.
That's awesome.
That's the 90s. Well, that's what happens when you're old and it was the 90s. It was all right.
There you go, everyone. Welcome to our lives.
Excellent. And back to you guys. Now, I want to talk about The 100 because, frankly, I have to confess, I haven't been watching. But honestly, you guys are going into season 4, right?
Yeah, we were on season 3 last year, and yeah, we're in the middle of breaking season 4 now. It's been crazy. It's such a dark show. I think people hear, CW show, teenagers, post-apocalyptic, yada yada, and they tune out. And then anyone I've told about it is like, oh, I'll check it out, and they get past the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then I get the email that's like 2 weeks later of, okay, I marathoned everything on Netflix, where's the rest? Like, so it's pretty addictive, and it's definitely a bingey show. So if you have a good week ahead of you of free time, do it.
Well, honestly, I heard you guys with Pants from Comic Geek Speak talking about it, and I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. It to me sounded almost like what happened to the Galactica crew after they go back on Earth. And granted, it was prehistoric times and much different because I did read what has happened in those 3 seasons. And
it's nuts. Yeah, it is very Battlestar. It's Battlestar meets Game of Thrones meets what? Shawna?
Walking Dead. I mean, it's got a little bit. It's a little bit of a pastiche. There's a lot of elements in the pot, and it kind of boils up into its own special sauce. But I think, the thing about it that most people notice right off the top when they first watch the pilot is it's very Lord of the Flies, right? It's a bunch of teenage kids crash landing on Earth and having real freedom for the first time in their entire lives, living cooped up on a space station. So they go a little crazy, as you would expect teenagers to do. So the show starts out with a very teen vibe, and then once the reality of living in the post-apocalyptic hellscape that is the Earth 97 years after a nuclear apocalypse sets in, they start to either die or get really serious about living.
Yeah.
And apparently the planet is still habited. It wasn't, everyone thought everyone had left and were on these space stations, and then the 100 come back, but apparently some survived, and they run into some fiefdoms down there that, it's pretty cool, man.
Not much of a spoiler at this point to talk about the fact that that's really the twist of the pilot at the end is we're not alone. And, that's that's a well-worn trope. And yet at the same time, it's incredibly effective. That's why
that's cool.
So, but it's a lot of fun to work on, and we get to come up with some really crazy stuff to do every week. So, it's a great learning opportunity for us as writers, but also just a really fun show to work on.
Who's the showrunner on The 100?
Jason Rothenberg. He created it. He's been on since day one, obviously, and
okay.
Yeah, he's kind of a mega weirdo genius who somehow comes up with the craziest stuff that, the best is if you're breaking a story and he comes in the room and he's like, it's a little linear. Can we just make it harder? So every episode, we're literally putting them at a cliff's edge and trying to figure out a way to get them out of it the next week, or in that episode. It's a tough job, but we love it.
Do you guys do that to each other then? A group, writers for episode 1 put somebody on a cliff, and it's like, all right, guys, for episode 2, good luck.
There's a lot of that's 403's problem or something.
Awesome.
Sometimes it's like, well, we're going to get whatever the biggest bang out of this episode is, and then we'll try to figure that out next week. Because, and then you do. You beat your head against the wall, and eventually you get the answer. And
somehow we do it. It's a lot different from writing comics, though. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, yeah, and I want to get into that obviously as well, because 2 of your comics have come out so far, Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. But I want to stick with TV for a second. Like, what kind of writer's room is it? Is it like you guys go off? It sounds like you guys get to go off, and the 2 of you are a team and are kind of breaking an episode or whatever. How does it work?
The show, we have about 13 or so writers this season.
Yeah, it's actually a really large room considering how downscaled Hollywood has been in the last decade or so in terms of their writers' rooms. But we have 3 writing teams, so we have a lot of bodies in the room, which is good. Brains. More brains is a good thing.
Sure.
And so, every day we go in about 10 o'clock and we break story, and Jason is in and out of post or, working on a script or working on whatever meetings. And coming in and hearing stuff and approving it and moving on. And I don't know, it takes a few weeks to break an episode. And
it takes about 2 weeks. We take about 2 weeks per episode to break it and get it to a place where it's ready to be written. And then the writer for the episode goes off and does their work. And
the room moves on.
And the room moves on to the next thing. And we just keep going and like that. And then
at some point it's Christmas or something, and then
until we all collapse basically from exhaustion.
How long of a break do you guys get between seasons? Or not, obviously that's mid-season, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it was weird because last year the writers' room wrapped around Christmas, and then we didn't come back until
mid-May.
May. Oh. So it was a big break.
We had a long break.
It was also the question of, is the show coming back? When would the room start? There's all this stuff that goes on in TV. So I don't know what will happen this year, how much of a break there'll be. We haven't even been told when the premiere date is yet.
Yeah. But we don't know when the premiere will be. We don't know if we're coming back again. I mean, there's it's a whole host of things. But the nice thing about having the long break was that it actually gave us the opportunity to do something else while we were waiting for the show to come back. And, opportunity landed in our lap in the form of the Birds of Prey.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I heard again, but I want you to say it for the Word Balloon audience. You guys obviously ran into Jeff Johns.
Yeah,
how did that happen?
It was weird. He and I were social media friends, and obviously I was a big fan of his and had read everything. And at the beginning of the year, it was sort of one of those like we should meet in person. And we went to this dinner, and I talked to him about Crisis on Infinite Earths for the joke is 20 minutes, and didn't let him get a word in edgewise, and told him what they should have done on the New 52 and all of my opinions.
Atta girl. Good.
I mean, I don't know who I thought I was. But then, he kind of just jokingly said, "Why aren't you guys writing a book for us?" And I said, "Well, I thought you need permission to do that." And he said, "Well, let's set up a meeting and talk about what you guys want to do." And so we went away and took about 2 or 3 weeks to come up with a million ideas and a million pitches. We were going to pitch a Psycho Pirate story. We were going to pitch a Vandal Savage story. We had all this stuff. An email from Jeff saying, "Hey, don't worry about a book to pitch you guys." So we had done all this research and all this work went in, and they're like, "What about Birds of Prey?" And we're like, yeah, I've heard of it. And then we were told to do our take and send it in, and we got it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It makes it sound so easy.
It makes it sound very easy. That was a really quick summary.
Yeah.
But in fairness too, I mean, you are established writers, and that's I'm glad that they're doing the DC workshops for both writers and artists right now to be a little more inclusive. But I also, and maybe because I don't have the desire to write for either big company, I do get that. Marvel and DC are big companies, and they do want established writers. And you look at the new names that are given big opportunities, and I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce his name, but Ta-Nehisi Coates doing Black Panther, Marjorie Liu a couple years ago when she broke in. They're established writers. They've already got writing credits to their name. They're pro writers. Yeah. And I do appreciate everyone wanting to break in because it does look like fun and you're a lifelong fan. But by the same token, it's like, yeah, but you don't really start at the big two normally.
Yeah.
But again, you guys are doing that.
We were definitely uniquely positioned.
Right.
DC had moved their entire operation from New York the previous year. And it was in part to take advantage of the talent pool that lives in LA. They've already got a multitude of writers out there working on DC properties. They have a lot of people working on DC television shows, and even though we aren't specifically on a DC show, we do work on a CW show
and Warner Brothers,
and which is a Warner Brothers show, and so there was a little bit of confluence there of it's like, hey, this is a really good partnership, and add to the fact that we were both comics fans, and in Julie's case, a super fan.
No.
Well, tell me about your fandom, Shawna, because Julie, talking him up about Crisis, and I do want to hear that stuff. But also, because honestly, I've heard Julie on other shows. I really haven't heard your comics background in terms of being a fan.
My comics background is a little more low key, not quite as varied as my sister's. I was very much growing up. I was a total sci-fi fantasy book nerd. and TV nerd, of course. We're both TV nerds. But I spent a large portion of my time reading, The Hobbit, Tolkien, Heinlein, Niven,
nice.
Piers Anthony, just anything and everything that Mercedes Lackey, whatever I could get my hands on that was nerdy and inspiring. So that was a lot of my background, and my real first comics, besides our dad's Silver Age, which Julie I think has talked about being a source of our maybe origin for inspiration. It was Star Trek Next Generation comics, because I was a big fan of the show.
Fun. Now, who was that, Marvel, or who was doing it at the time?
Actually, DC was doing it.
Oh, okay.
And
the Peter David and Robert Greenberg and guys like that, right?
Peter David was doing the Star Trek series, the TOS line. Okay. And then it was Michael Jan Friedman doing most of the TNG line.
Oh, yes. And I've read a lot of his Star Trek novels, too.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So, there was a lot of crossover there. It was sort of a natural crossover for me, having already read a lot of those books. I was a huge Peter David fan, huge. So that was where a lot of my reading was. And then I branched out a little bit, and it was still kind of in the adaptation mode, so I wasn't reading
TV adaptation. Wasn't there Quantum Leap?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, you're reading Quantum Leap's books. That's cool. Were they good?
They were beautiful image books. They were really nicely printed. I still have a few of them, and I think the quality of them was just amazing. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's like sometimes you pick up, a comic, and it didn't have weight to it, and this had weight. I felt like I was reading something important in a weird way.
That's cool. I just talked to the IDW Star Trek people. It's going to be actually the episode before you guys. And honestly, I really do think there is, for the last about 10 or 15 years, there's been a real leap forward, pardon the pun, of really good storytelling. And it was really obvious that, like you said, there's more weight to these adaptations than I think there was, certainly when I was growing up. I caught the tail end of the Gold Key stuff that was being reprinted in the 70s. Yeah. And I was a little kid. And, 10 years old, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But as I got older, it's like, yeah, this just isn't, doing it. And I saw, the Star Trek stuff was always good because Friedman and David were already, again, immersed in the novels. And even, this year at San Diego, I went to the writer adaptation panel that Max Collins and Andy Mangels and you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I didn't get to go to that panel, but I saw it. And I wish.
Yeah, and I've had Max on before, and I've even had Andy on before, and yeah, there's just Marv Wolfman was there because he wrote an adaptation of Arkham Asylum. I think the video game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, it was really fun hearing them all talk about the stuff that they were adapting in novels and stuff. And yeah, the writing is great. Would you ever want to do that, Shawna, and do any kind of novelization? And not novelization, but original stories adapting from TV or film?
Yeah, absolutely.
We keep trying to push The Office into letting us do the 100 comic, but there's no
there may not be a market for that. We're not sure. No, a year or two ago, there was the Boom, I think it was, had the adaptation of Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which was...
Yeah, David Mack worked on that, sure.
It was beautiful. And, those are the kinds of things that... Like, there are some books that will probably never be able to be made into film or television just because of their complexity and would cost like $400 million to make them realistically. And so, but comics gives you a way to tell those stories visually that is, affordable. One of the things that Julie and I talk about a lot is that coming from television and coming from working in a production environment, we're very used to having to contain our writing down, and make it producible. Whatever it is that we're writing, it's got to be producible. You got to be able to do it on a TV schedule and a TV budget. So, you can't have the exploding helicopter. And of course, you go to comics.
And they're like, could you put some exploding helicopters in here?
Yeah,
we're like, oh, yeah.
Could you maybe take it out of the 4 rooms that you've,
Oh, they want you to go bigger. That's been the editorial note sometimes?
Yeah, it was the first note we got. They were like, don't be afraid to just add some crazy elements to this scene. And we were like, yeah, duh, of course,
of course.
of
I mean,
course
to
we
us,
should.
like, of course.
But it just took one email and one sentence to be like, hey guys, remember this is comics. You don't have to worry about the budget. And we were like, oh geez, that's so embarrassing. But it was good. It was early on, and we learned that lesson quickly. And yeah, I just had to have somebody bash us over the head with it.
Well, I like the storylines that are happening immediately in both Batgirl and Birds of Prey. And I'm glad that one of the neat little kernels as they were winding down the New 52 was discovering that there was another Oracle. And I don't even know, is this a continuation of what the previous team on Batgirl was doing? Or is it just you've taken this theme and you want to continue it in a new story?
Yeah, it's a new story. And, Hope is doing the actual Batgirl title. And so we're doing the Batgirl and the Birds of Prey title. Hope Larson. And so there is confusion because it's like, why is it Batgirl and the Birds of Prey? I think it's just for alphabetical reasons, so it's close to Batgirl on the rack. I don't know. But not our problem, not our issue. But it's funny because our books don't have to coincide. I think our run actually happens after Hope's Batgirl run. Batgirl goes to Asia and kind of does this self-discovery thing, and then we're kind of picking her up after that run. So there's a little bit of calendar/continuity confusion, I think, out there, but I think everyone just has to look at every book as its own thing and not try to pick which day of the week the event is happening,
I gotcha. Okay. So you didn't write that Batgirl?
No, that was
Rebirth issue?
No, that was Hope Larson, and Raphael Albuquerque did the art for that. And Julie and I are writing Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. We wrote the Rebirth issue that came out, and now the #1 that just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that tell me about then the team and your perceptions of the trio, the Birds of Prey.
It's been so much fun. Claire Rowe is our artist. She lives in Scotland. We've never met her.
I heard about this. Tell me about her. Yeah,
we've never met her. Just a few emails, and honestly, we've been working her like, I don't even know what. It's a salt mine, I think. The poor girl, we keep sending scripts that just have so much stuff going on in them, and we just never hear from her. So we just end up getting inks and pencils like when they're due, and we just look at them and they're amazing. But she's great. She did a book called We Come Back, and I think there was like a silent L in there, so it sort of Welcome Back. Was that Boom?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And so she's amazing, and we have Paquette doing our covers, Yannick Paquette, and
nice.
He's obviously a pro. We have Steve Wands doing lettering. He came off the Batgirl run from this last run with the Burnside run. And then who else do we have? We have
Alan Pasalacqua.
Yeah, Alan doing colors. He teaches coloring for his day job. So I think we got pretty lucky there because he's kind of amazing.
So we've got a good behind the scenes team.
Yeah,
and,
our editors are the Bat team. So we've got Chris Conroy, Mark Doyle, David, and obviously Jeff chimes in.
So which is your direct editor? Because I know obviously
Chris Conroy. Pretty much Chris.
Okay,
and
Chris
Mark,
Conroy.
Yeah.
Dave.
Okay.
And Dave.
Oh, and Mark did. Okay. So all three do have input.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jeff. All right. Is that too many cooks? I mean, honestly, that is a concern sometimes.
It's a lot of voices, but somehow they merge it into one email, so we don't notice.
Okay.
We don't notice
we don't get conflicting notes from them. They kind of
cacophony.
they put their heads
great.
together and they send us their collective thoughts.
Yeah.
And that is very helpful.
Honestly, I really am rooting for the Rebirth run because. I mean, I was one of those frustrated. I don't know if you heard my last couple of
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Excellent. I'm sure I sounded like a lunatic.
No, you sounded like a lot of people. It was frustrating for a lot of people.
Sure. Well, that's the thing. And honestly, no, this Rebirth debut has been fantastic. All the books, I mean, it really seems like, they've got the right handle on the characters. You clearly do with the three birds. And I like that you've incorporated what was the good stuff that was going on in the New 52, because truly Grayson, Black Canary, and Batgirl were like three exceptions where it's like, no, actually, these are good books, and they gave them interesting backstories. God, Black Canary is a rock and roller. That's fantastic.
I mean, isn't that cool? And just the fact that she has this I mean, she's been around forever. She's been around longer than anyone. I mean, I think people forget that didn't she run the JSA for a while?
Oh, nice.
She formed the JSA.
She formed the JSA. Yeah, she's been around forever, and it's just so fun to kind of breathe some fresh air into her as, yeah, she has this metahuman skill, and Barbara's super smart. Like, they're all so formidable. I mean, Helena is just such a badass. You just take those three, and, you know, the question we get the most is, are you going to add Barda? Are you going to add Poison Ivy? Are you going to add Zenda? You know, Katana? Sure. And you're like, yeah, we'd love to do all of that, but right now our hands are full with these three broads, you know? Like, we got enough going on.
Yeah, I mean, they're all pretty formidable on their own, but, you know, the thing that makes the Birds of Prey special is that each of them has a very distinct skill and advantage and viewpoint that together makes that team incredibly formidable.
Yeah.
And able to stand apart from pretty much any other major superhero, including that big bat dude who looms over Gotham.
Oh, that guy. He shows up in which issue?
Issue 2, actually.
Issue 2
one that comes out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
So that's there's a teaser of things to come. We haven't talked about that issue much, so we're excited for it because we think issue 2 is
where the story
really starts to take off and people understand what's starting to come together and what's happening.
Okay, and you know, forgive me because I read the Rebirth issue, but I didn't read issue 1.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
So yeah, no, but catch me up. Like, will Ollie? I mean, my main question was mentioning Batman, and no, you know, I'm glad that Ollie and Dinah are kind of, they remember each other, or at least
that nice? It's sweet.
Yes, thank God. Well, that's the thing. I mean, they took away so much, and I don't want to dwell on the past, but they did, and it's great that they're kind of reestablishing that stuff. And honestly, I want the women to be the stars of their own book. I'm only asking because, as you know, their relationships are kind of, they define who they are by their relationships with other heroes and other civilians.
Yeah.
So, you know, will Ollie show up in the book?
Not in the first run.
Okay.
Not in the first 6 issues, but it is definitely something that's going to happen in the next run.
Okay, and how about Dick?
Yes.
Same answer.
Same answer.
We recognize that those relationships are really important, not just in the canon, but also just for these characters and who they are. I mean, they're a big piece of their lives. And while we don't think they are defined by those relationships necessarily, they are a big piece of them. And it's important to pay homage to that and also incorporate that into the story. One of the things that we discovered pretty early on in this process was that there is clearly a very big overarching story that's being told from the DC Rebirth #1 that Jeff Johns wrote. And to be honest, our story has very little to do with that. And that's an okay thing. A lot of the books really are just sort of getting their feet wet and starting to, you know, wade into that little pool. And so it's good because we get to then slowly build up this story without having to worry about, you know, pulling from other titles and other issues. And we're really, you know, and this first arc particularly very keenly focused on events in Gotham and kind of sticking to this one story of finding this fake Oracle because it's a personal story for Barbara, you know,
certainly
as a name that she once held and was very important to her in her past. So that's kind of where we're at creatively with the book right now, is sort of very, very firmly focused on these 3 women and their stories and getting them together and finding this fake Oracle.
Is there, because they all had such defined roles in the previous incarnations of Birds of Prey, and obviously Barbara's was the the as Oracle and everything, kind of the eye in the sky, and then back at home base, and you go out here and stuff, you know, and sending Canary and the others in the field and everything. So, you know, now all 3 of them obviously are capable of being in the field. Is there going to be some sort of nest, you know, somebody that's guarding the nest while the birds are out?
Well,
I hit a landmine. All right,
stay tuned? Question mark?
Will that happen in the first arc?
Well, you definitely will find out who Oracle is, for sure.
So in regard to your question about will they have someone as their home base, that's something that is a dynamic of the original Birds of Prey book that is seminal, I think. It's really definitive of the title. And right now, they don't have that. They are 3 women out in the streets, you know, beating up bad guys and taking names and, whatever they need to do. Now, where they go forward from that is yet to be seen, because as this story unwinds, we'll see where the benefits of having the three of them together are, and where there are, holes, where there are things that they could really use, things that are important. In issue 1, which you didn't read, we did a flashback to a moment where Barbara and Dinah were working as the birds back in the old days, so to speak.
Okay.
Sort of like a missing adventure from the old
Barbara
days.
as Oracle and Dinah in the field.
Yes,
right.
exactly. And you get to see how that partnership really worked well. And I think there's an adjustment that has to be made by both of those women to the new normal. Dinah is very reticent about this because she does feel that Barbara is completely capable of operating on her own. Why would she want to get the birds back together? She feels like Barbara doesn't need her. And yet it becomes very clear that Barbara does need her, if for nothing else, certainly moral support, as they deal with something that is very personal to them. So I think that the relationship issues are very firmly, tied in or mixed in with sort of what we call the plot issues, the things that may have to happen for the team to be successful going forward.
Got it. Okay. Man, I'll tell you, I was a big fan of Gail's run, obviously. And I know that's one of millions. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't read much of Chuck's run before it. And I know, obviously, Gail holds it in high regard, and certainly Chuck created the team.
It's really good. It's really good. Luckily, I had the Chuck run and the Gail run. I even had...
Most of Dwayne's
we
run.
had most of the new 52.
Krasinski, okay.
Yeah. I think they're all really good. I think it's really fun to see that. They could read the phone book, and I have a good time reading Birds of Prey. So, I guess I'm easily entertained. But
I do think the one thing that Gail introduced at the end that is something that I think is what a lot of people have latched onto, and is why we keep getting the question of sort of the rotating roster of characters. Because when she came back to the book after she had been away for a while and she had that second run, she introduced some of the other characters, and by that time she'd already written the Batgirl title. And so Barbara was back as Batgirl, and so she wasn't involved with the Birds of Prey at that time. So I think the reason why people have really fresh memories of these other characters is because they were the ones they saw most recently. So Katana and Poison Ivy and Catwoman were all involved with the Birds of Prey, as was Starling and Zinda, and so I mean it's we know that all of these characters exist in the world, and they all have really awesome stories to tell. And
is Zinda Lady Blackhawk?
Yes.
All right, I thought so. And and I'll be honest, I didn't read Gail's second run. I read that classic run, and just the way that Zinda was portrayed and stuff is just out there carousing and everything, and every as much of a World War II vet as any of the other Blackhawks. And I just love that about her and everything. And it's like, that's great. And no, and I really loved, was it Spy Smasher that Barbara took on, even though she was paralyzed, and it's like, come on, let's go. And that's awesome. That's fantastic. I mean, I love, that's like my favorite moment.
It's so good. And it was really important for us when we kind of got the gig and we had a big talk with the editors, and everybody's been on board from day one. It's not like we've had to have arguments about this at all. But the biggest discussion was, we wanted to be clear that what happened to Barbara happened. Barbara was Oracle. That continuity stuck. It was something that they kind of tiptoed away from when they brought the New 52 back. It was just sort of, okay, she's Batgirl again. She can have surgery and she can have and be quote unquote cured, but we felt like that was really it's a part of who she is. It is who she is. And so,
oh my God. Well, it shows that no obstacle can keep her from being the hero that she is.
Yeah.
And that's really important. And again, I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of these things were done with the best intentions.
100%.
And it obviously the biggest thing was, look, if you ask somebody on the street who Batgirl is because of the TV show, it's Barbara Gordon. Yeah. Taking nothing away from Stephanie Brown.
Right.
Or Kane, or Cassandra, exactly. And I mean, that's the thing. And so you got it. But to kind of take away Oracle, it was like, no, that was a real heroic period of Barbara Gordon's life that needs to be there.
Which was kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, and that's the thing. And I really appreciated, physically challenged people like stepping up and going, "Hey, you took our hero away," and it's like, good for you. Absolutely, stand up and let them know that.
That's right.
That's just they didn't realize, they didn't know what they were doing, or they did, but felt that it was more important to get Batgirl back to being Barbara Gordon.
Yeah, who knows? But I'm just so glad that those meetings where everybody was on the same page of like, absolutely. Cool. Let's dig in. I think as a fan of DC Comics, the only weird thing is sort of saying that Huntress was never part of the team. That's the sort of new continuity that we're creating.
Okay, and that's all right. Yeah. I noticed that for kind of the Rebirth issue. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the previous run, she had been part of that team. They knew each other, whatever. So, we're guilty of cherry picking a little bit of continuity ourselves, but we just felt like it's such a more interesting story to bring her in as a sort of new character with what the runs were before us, the Grayson run with Helena, the Black Canary run and the Batgirl run. If you kind of smash all those things together, it really felt like Babs and Dinah were in books together, and Helena was not part of that dynamic. So adding her to the team in this way, we felt was just a really cool. We like it. I hope everyone else does.
Honestly,
I know that it's a off continuity thing, but I think it's better for story.
Well, and Helena, I mean, I don't know how far back your guys. Well, obviously, Julie, you know, with the Psycho Pirate and stuff.
Yeah.
The one thing is, and I love Huntress. I do miss Helena Wayne because
I know.
I mean, that's what she. I mean, and obviously they even made that point in the TV show.
Yeah.
That she was Helena Wayne again. But yeah, I mean, that's I miss Earth too, and I don't know what. I mean, obviously there's a path that's been laid out in that first issue that Jeff wrote of Rebirth to bring the Justice Society back.
Oh my God! Right?
But again, Bendis always says if you pull too hard on the threads, you're gonna screw up the entire blanket. And I get it, and he's or tapestry, whatever, I agree, and I understand. So so
we're
some
to
sacrifices
tug on things and not to pull too
exactly.
hard.
No, but you're right, and it's great to get these. Like, I think these three characters back. It's important, and also, like you said, the Grayson run. I mean, Helena's really King and Seeley really gave her a really good character that I don't think she's had since I think Rucka really was handling it.
I know. We love the Rucka. Was it Cry for Blood?
Yes.
Yes.
It's so good. There's an issue that's coming up, not to spoiler, but we tried to do sort of an issue for each quote-unquote girl. I hate calling them girls, but we'll call them girls. So that, you had the sort of Babs backstory and Rebirth, and you'll get the Dinah one in, I think, 3. And then the Huntress one comes in 4. And we definitely took that Rucka run as sort of canon for that story.
Very cool.
Because, I mean, that was so cool.
I recently dipped into Huntress Year 1, which was published, I think, in 2009. So
who did that one?
Just prior to New 52, which also told a lot of the Helena Bertinelli story. And there's a lot of similarity to the Rucka run. So if anybody is really wanting to go read loves that. Huntress Year 1, we're not straying too far from that. But this is a different Helena. I mean, this Helena has been rebooted for New 52 as a half North African Italian woman. So she is a person of color, and so it's hard to lay that original template on top of her a little bit because she is different. And there are things that inform her that are different. So
interesting. Who wrote that Year 1 Huntress? Do you remember?
Ivory Madison, I think. It's Ivory.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember.
Okay. And is she at all? Did she ever come across David? And I forget David's last name. The original Batwing, because they were both from North Africa. Or actually, I don't even know. Forgive me. I don't even know if Batwing was necessarily.
I don't think so.
Isn't that strange that she never came across Batwing? There must be one.
That would seem.
I don't know.
They've only been playing with her since the Grayson run, so it's not like she's really been back in the continuity for very long.
True. Well,
maybe 2 years.
Writing that one down, John.
Oh, there you go.
Giving her an idea.
Cool. Honestly, I really loved that original Batwing idea, and I thought it was a great opportunity to explore Batman in a different international way. Yeah. And Winnick is I'm a huge fan of Judd's, and I also like Judd a lot as a guy. and think he's a hell of a writer. And I like what they did with Lucius Fox. I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
Jimmy knows what he's doing too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of the things they did to kind of tweak things along the way, I did like. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. That kind of connects Batwing more to the Batman family. And I'm like, that's interesting. And I'm a boxing guy, so I'm like, oh, Lucius is an MMA guy. That's cool.
I did it.
There's that sports background.
They did touch on that.
Exactly. I can't help it.
Side, didn't they?
Yeah, I think he was in that.
His son.
It was his
Fox.
son. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's right. Luke. That's right. Luke Fox. Yes. Yeah. Who I assume would be like a junior or whatever, but goes by Luke.
Right.
But oh yeah, no. I want. What are you talking about? I want Wildcat to show up and give the some if they need some extra street tips and stuff like that. I love Wildcat.
Stop it! I love it.
I know. I mean, we definitely have the list.
We have a list.
We have made the list of like, okay, here's the pie in the sky.
Yeah.
Who can we get to be in these books?
Even if it's just for a cameo.
Even if it's just a one-off.
Awesome.
Just to show up for 2 pages. What can we do there? So, who knows? Hopefully we get to stick around long enough to get through at least, part of the list. That would be nice.
Yeah, but DC says it's going to be an ongoing book as of what they can tell. So we'll hopefully have a couple more runs on this. And we've already pitched them our ideas for runs, kind of 2 and 3. And, it's all happening.
And is it double shipping as well, or
no? It's one a month. Thank God.
Okay.
I think
I would believe me, I understand with your writing schedule,
John, if I had to do 2 a month.
Oh no, really, I can appreciate that. And as much as it's nice to know that certain books do come out every 2 weeks, I know how much of a chore that is for the writer and even the art team.
How
Tom King must not.
Tom King is doing it. I like all these guys. They must not sleep. Yeah, Tinian.
We saw those guys at Comic-Con, and they
looked okay then.
Yeah,
I wonder how they'll look by New York.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Hey, I remember Brubaker, kind of saying that's kind of one of the reasons why he stopped writing for Marvel was he's like, it's just too much. He goes, because, I want to write my own stuff too. And I'm like, no, I get it.
It's a full-time job. I mean, if we didn't write for a TV show, obviously that would be a different conversation. But luckily, our dream job of getting to write for television came true last year, and then our other dream job of getting to write for comics is happening this year. And the fact that we're able to do both at the same time at all is such a gift from Warner Brothers and Jason and everyone letting us do this because
we're very appreciative.
Cool. It's a lot of work, and
our bosses on both sides. Of the fence.
Isn't it interesting, though, that, and this is something that I like to talk about with the creators, how the ambition of being a writer for a DC or a Marvel used to be the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Like, for a lot of comic book people. I mean, that was the dream job. And I don't know, beyond when you guys, have more time, do you have original comic book ideas that you'd like to pursue?
Yeah, we sure do. We wrote a few scripts that helped us get our TV jobs that were actually comic ideas before we put them to script. Because we were like, well, we'll never make comic books. No one will let us do that. So we'll write it as a TV pilot, and then maybe we'll go that direction. So we've actually done everything backwards from how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. One of the things that we both set out for ourselves when we decided to write together was that we want to be able to create our own stuff. We want to be able to create our own comics. We want to be able to create our own television shows, and all of those things come in time. And we are perfectly content right now to be working on everybody else's stuff for the time being, because it's just a fantastic opportunity for us, and it's a gift really to be able to play with amazing characters, an amazing story that already other people have built up to the place where we get a chance to now play with them is really wonderful.
It's fun to send DMs to Tom and say, how much weight do you think that the Batarang could hold?
Excellent. Fantastic.
Is there a real number? I can't find it, but what do you think? And then the response being awesome. Tell me what you come up with,
That is great.
Living in that world, we're definitely pinching ourselves a lot.
And the Bat family is great. I mean, DC has put together an amazing roster of writers in the Bat group, as they call it.
Super supportive.
Yeah.
And we've had nothing but love with those guys, and women. I mean, Hope being included in that, and
sure.
It's been really a great experience for us so far. We know that there are not a lot of women working in comics today, which is a shame, and hopefully we can help change that somewhat. We certainly are proponents of more women writing comics, because why the hell not?
Yeah,
you're here.
So
Absolutely.
really, it's just a matter of sort of proving that this is we're worth taking a risk on, guys. It's really not that hard.
No, hey man, I think I want more women in comics. I want more people of color in comics. There's no reason not to. The great thing is that if you guys obviously, again, you got to be established television writers, or at least starting your television writing career, you had some opportunities. And really, the great thing is, so far, I like what I've read so far in Birds of Prey, and I'm looking forward to the story. You've piqued my interest with this.
Yay! Yeah, it was tough to do a rebirth and a number one. I think that was our biggest whiny moment, if we had one, which was we had kind of quote unquote written number one, and then we were told, oh, you're going to have to do this rebirth, which is sort of a zero issue. And we went, oh shit. Okay, well,
that's interesting. You wrote one before you wrote your rebirth issue.
Yeah, we started it. Yeah, so we ended up sort of robbing from Peter to pay Paul to make the rebirth what it was, and then I think if there were any criticisms of one, it was sort of the stuff that we agreed with, which is we kind of had to do a little bit of. I wouldn't use the word treading water, but we definitely didn't advance the story as much as we wanted to in the first issue, because a lot of that went in the rebirth.
Sure.
So
we reset. I mean, for people that didn't buy the rebirth issue for whatever reason, and we're only starting in with number one, it's just as good a jumping on point as rebirth.
And that was one of the marching orders, is make sure if somebody didn't read rebirth, if they picked up one, they would know what's going on. So there was a lot of that. And then that's why we really are excited for two, because it kind of feels like that's where we get to start our story in a way, even though it's definitely been started and the team is together. It's like, that's where we get to
get to start really seeing team dynamics and character, the personalities clashing in good and not so good ways, and so I think that there's a lot of fun, and that was the other main sort of marching order for this book, was they wanted it to be fun. So it can be a little dark and gritty, but we at the heart of it, you want this book to be something that people enjoy picking up and reading, that it's a fun book. So that was great for us. I mean, one of the other notes we got early on was more jokes, which we're used to not having jokes. So being able to write more jokes was kind of great. Julie especially loves writing jokes, so I let her write all the jokes. She's funny that way.
Yeah, for every 20 jokes I write, Shawna makes me cut 15, because she's like, it's too many jokes. And then I'll get a note that's like, did you guys
10.
make more jokes? So yay, I win.
Now, Julie, I've heard you on the Nerdist Comics panel, and I guess I guess they do call it the Comics Writers panel.
Yeah.
And good friend of Heath Corson's, and I've heard I'm assuming it was at a couple conventions that you guys got to sit around and talk about certain characters. I haven't heard the most recent one.
Oh, we
where I
did
guess you're talking about
30
Thor.
minutes on Thor.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm looking forward to hearing that.
It was literally, we did a couple of episodes in one day over at Meltdown, and I was friends with Ben Blacker, and I'd never met Heath before, and so when Shawna and I went on, I fell in love with him. He's just the funniest, smartest guy. So is Ben, obviously. And so
I like them both.
They
Absolutely.
asked me to come back and do a few more, just like, hey, let's talk about Thor for a while. And I was like, I'll talk about Thor all day long. What do you want to talk about? And we only had 30 minutes, so it's the funniest episode to me. I haven't listened to it yet, but Thor in 30, essentially, with Ashley Miller, who co-wrote the first Thor movie. So it was pretty fun.
Right. Yeah, I did notice that she was on the program as well. That's cool. Shawna, how many podcasts have you done so far?
Well, I actually have a secret past of podcasting.
Really?
Here it comes.
I co-hosted a podcast with a friend of mine, Christian Linke. We co-hosted a podcast called Geekarati. We started it around 2007. I think.
Nice. That a girl. So very good.
We ran it for a good 5 or 6 years, and then things just kind of fell apart a little bit as life got in the way.
Yeah, it's hard.
But we probably did. I think we did over 100 hours of that show at least.
Wow.
So it was a lot of fun. That was a good time, and so I got used to pontificating and opining on all things pop culture through that. But as of late, in my new quote unquote new career as an actual writer, I've only done two or three.
This is probably your second or third.
Yeah, so not many.
Is your Geekarati feed still up somewhere or no?
It is. It was a Blog Talk Radio show.
Oh, very good.
And I believe it's still live on iTunes too. If you
excellent. So okay.
The old, there's all that stuff is out of date now, but there's still some evergreen episodes where we talk about pulp, pulp novels or
fantastic
classic movies or whatever. So it was fun.
Awesome. Well, 2007, I'm impressed because Well, really, not to be jerky about it, but I will be, I guess.
Do it.
Because some people are, they turn into Barney Fife. Yeah, I've been podcasting since 2010, so I'm kind of an expert. And it's like, yeah, go home, Junior. I was celebrating my anniversary in 2010. So, no, I always say, 2005. I always put it in astronaut terms. Yeah. I think you'll appreciate it. I always say 2005, we were the Mercury astronauts.
Yes.
I was in the Gemini program.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. You're part of the Gemini class, which is very honorable. That's where Neil Armstrong and Buzz,
I just never made it into the Apollo program. But you know what? Not all of the Gemini astronauts made it into Apollo. So that's okay. It's okay. I lost the moon. It's fine.
Yeah, Ed White and Gus Grissom. No, it was sad. God, that's fantastic. I do like that because seriously, every now and then I will hear some podcaster. I've been doing it a long time since 2010. It's
Beat it, kids.
Yeah.
Well, we missed our chance when there was an opportunity back around, I think it was in 2009, or it may have been earlier than that, I'm not sure, but Meltdown Comics was interested in hosting a podcast at their store. And
this little place called Meltdown.
Yeah, a little place on Sunset Boulevard called
everybody knows it. Yeah,
was interested in hosting a podcast at their store and having live shows and whatever. And we talked about doing it, and then because we had day jobs and it was really hard for us to kind of put that together, we didn't do it. And lo and behold, along comes this Nerdist group, and they
damn you, Hardwick
there. And I don't know what happened to them, honestly.
I don't know either. Yeah, I know that. God, good luck to them. I know. I think they're still on MySpace or something like that.
But John, you've been around forever, and your podcasts are so fun. My favorite part of your episodes are when you start talking about old movies and old actors. And
let's go to town, ladies. I am happy to talk. We're talking on August 31st, and my favorite month of Turner Classic Movies is just ending.
Oh,
the Summer Festival of Stars, when every day it's 24 hours of one star, and they always pick great stars, and they pick Spencer Tracy certainly had a day, James Garner had a day, but I love when it's the character actors days, and
those are the greatest. Those are the greatest.
Of course,
TCM is on my TV probably 24/7 when I'm home. I'm the biggest Katharine Hepburn fan.
Atta girl. Nuts.
I have a signed letter from her when I wrote her when I was, I think, 10 or 11.
Wow.
I was just obsessed with her. I thought she was the coolest. She wore pants. She was brassy. She said what she spoke her mind.
You can swear. Yeah, she didn't take any shit from anyone.
She was just gorgeous and awesome. And so when I was 10, I was like, this is the most amazing person. I have to write her a letter because I feel like we're best friends. I've seen all of her movies. Wow. And I did. I wrote her a letter. I sent her one of those school pictures that you cut out. You get the little mini wallet size.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I sent her one of those because I figured she better have that. And, basically said we should be pen pals and all this. It was so embarrassing. And I remember I got a letter from her secretary saying, thanks for the letter. Sorry,
Kate
go pound sand, essentially. Today. Yeah. And I cried. I was so devastated.
Aww.
And I had already written another letter, and my mom found that letter, and because I was so well, we're not friends. I can't send this. And my mom sent the letter, unbeknownst to me, with a letter attached saying, hello, Miss Hepburn. I don't know if you know this, but my daughter is your biggest fan, and she was heartbroken, and blah, blah, blah. And so I got this typed on her letterhead, stationary letterhead, letter back and autographed, basically saying thank you for your letter. I'm sorry I don't have time to be pen pals, but I'll think of you and I hope you're fine too. And, signed Katharine Hepburn. And it is legit in a frame in my house.
Wow.
It's in the living room and is my most prized possession because she didn't sign anything ever, so it's
checks.
Yeah, it checks. That was about it. So the fact that I have that is just so near and dear to me. So I'm a huge TCM fan, and I love when people talk about movies.
But part of our origin story was growing up in the Midwest. Most of what we did was watch old movies and science fiction shows, So we grew up on John Wayne Westerns, Three Bogart movies, Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, and Doctor Who.
Oh,
and Star Trek.
Man.
And Star Trek.
How come we didn't live near each other and hang out? I'm sorry, guys.
Friends.
I know. I mean, we would tune in. We would tune our antenna on our roof to get the signal that came from Bloomington,
the big city.
Yeah, from Bloomington rather than Peoria, because Peoria wasn't always carrying. The PBS station wasn't always carrying Doctor Who, and sometimes you had to get it from Bloomington. And we would get it all tuned up, and then we would record all of the episodes.
Stay up late and watch Tom Baker episodes with our dad.
Nice.
Yeah, and then subsequent to that, all of the other ones.
I was going to say, now Baker aside, because we all love Tom Baker, but all right. So who's your of the old?
Who's your number two?
Run. Yeah, who's your number two?
My number two might be Peter. It's
Davis.
either Peter or Sylve.
Yeah, that one's tough.
Or McCoy. Okay.
I think in later years, I became more of a Pertwee fan.
Well, yeah.
I love Pertwee.
I knew you were going to say Pertwee.
Oh, yeah. Well, he came to Chicago. Actually, I was really lucky. The 20th anniversary. It's so funny that it's now the 50th anniversary. Again, sadly, old enough to remember as a young teenager the 20th anniversary. And Davison, Baker, and Pertwee all came to Chicago that year in different shows. And got to meet them all.
Wow.
Could not have been all of and when we met Davison, his episodes hadn't come out yet, but that novelization of The Visitation with his photograph was out. So we knew about him through that.
Oh my gosh.
And he came, and he was married to Sandra Dickinson at the time.
Yep.
Who was, Trillian in the Hitchhiker's television show. And they were lovely. They were very sweet, and they just came to this comic book store in the city, and Sandra Dickinson's did you recognize Peter as the cow in the dish of the day?
Stop it.
It was fantastic. And we're and seriously, oh, no, but that's cool. Thank you. Of course, I was 14.
Oh, man.
And Baker was great. Baker he did a one-man show and was awesome and funny. And now that we're done, if you want to get in line, I'll be happy to, sign an autograph and everything. So we're all waiting in line. And then he came through the line.
Oh, my God.
And we're we're waiting. Yeah, and he put his hand on my shoulder. I was I'll be right up there in one moment. I'm okay. Thanks for
You've never washed that shoulder to this day.
It's true. It's black.
We used to go to Visions in Chicago.
Did you go to Visions?
What was Visions? I don't remember Visions.
It was the big Doctor Who convention in Chicago at the, Rosemont? No.
It was in Rosemont. It was at the Hyatt, I think.
The Hyatt or the Ramada, one of those two. Yeah. And
I bounce sometimes. But we used to go to that in the early 90s, and it became multi-show after a while because it was during the dark years where the show had already been canceled after the 25th or 26th season, and so we were desperate for anything that and all of the rumors would come around it's coming back, and we'd be like, is it? And then of course it was never coming back, and then it did.
These kids today don't know
how good they have it. I have a Sonic Spork. Could you imagine as a kid having a Sonic Spork?
No.
Come on.
All I remember getting was the bank, or it was a tea holder, a tea bag holder of the TARDIS, and Tom Baker being on one side of it.
That's amazing.
I had one of those. God, you were killing me when you were saying about with kids. Well, that's the thing. Sometimes when something comes out and you get I always hate that on the internet, the meh, M-E-H. And it's oh, fuck you. You don't know the crap we had to watch because that was all it. Even the movie, the Fox movie.
Oh, yeah. Right. We devoured it because it was there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it's not the best Doctor Who, but it is Doctor Who, so it's okay.
That's right. And Paul McGann was
and actually
good.
What's that?
Paul McGann was good.
Paul McGann.
Did you? Well, I was going to say I really felt I even listened, and I bet you have as well. Those Big Finish audio.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, I'll tell you, McGann rose in my esteem because of those,
That's
and
exactly
also
right.
Colin Baker too.
Yeah,
Colin.
we love Colin.
Oh man, there are great audio dramas with Colin Baker. No, and I'll be honest, I wasn't a big McCoy guy, but again through the audios, I'm like, all right, no, it's good. I keep wanting to get Nicholas Briggs, the guy who's behind Big Finish and stuff, and I'm trying to kind of work my way into asking him to come on my podcast because I'd love to talk to him because I really think the Big Finish audios are just amazing. So.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about. Sorry, John. We were talking amongst ourselves. We're like, wait, we know people over there. We'll just give you some names and numbers after we're done.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Seriously, because honestly, there are other comic creators that I'm like, oh yeah, as your relationship is getting established, that'd be great. So no, any help you can give me, ladies, that would be great.
I love putting people in touch with each other. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah,
that's really nice. I appreciate that. So what other classic sci-fi shows? The Prisoner.
Yeah. Our dad was a big Prisoner fan. I couldn't get into it because it was a little scary for me. I was a little young.
I can appreciate that.
But that ball. That's all I remember.
Oh my God, scary as hell.
Yeah, there was like a scary ball, and that's all I remembered. We were big into like Red Dwarf Blake Seven. For sure.
Nice.
God, what else?
Oh man, I'm racking my brains. Space 1999.
Yeah, I really kind of came around because again, I sadly remember the first run.
Yeah.
And it was just so weird. I like Jerry Anderson's. I loved Thunderbirds and all the crazy marionette stuff. Stingray and stuff like that. I loved that as a kid. No, but yeah, it was weird. And now I really appreciate it. Space 1999.
John, did you ever see the show Space Cops?
Star Cops.
Star Cops? Why did I call it Space Cops?
I don't know.
I don't know Star Cops. No.
Oh my God. Try to find it. We were obsessed with it. How many episodes?
9.
There were like only 9 episodes.
This is like,
I always love shows like this. Go on.
This is such a hipster nerd thing of like, did you ever see the one season show with 9 episodes?
Oh, please. That wasn't Ted Shackelford's show, was it?
No, I don't think it was.
Okay.
But it was one of those that they sort of like threw on PBS after Doctor Who episodes, right? So it was sort of like you'd get Doctor Who and then Blake Seven or Red Dwarf or this show that was Star Cops. And Julie pulled it up on Wikipedia, bless you. 87.
87.
And it was done in 87. It was basically cops on a space station.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the most basic
literally
idea.
A space procedural.
It was a space procedural. Cops on a space station. It was really fun though.
And it was really good.
I mean, it's probably not. I don't know, but in our heads anyway, it was.
We were young enough to think it was awesome.
High drama.
So if we could ever do a remake of a show, we have dibs on Star Cops.
That's fantastic. Well, like VR5 was like that, and it was only one season. Hey, remember on UPN, Nowhere Man?
No.
Yeah, no, I do remember.
Greenwood?
Wait a minute. I always get that one confused with Jake 2.0. Hang on.
You see, I didn't watch Jake 2.0. Nowhere Man was Bruce Greenwood, Christopher Pike, and the J.J. Abrams start.
Yeah.
Oh man, and again, like your father, I was a massive Prisoner fan, and it really had a good Prisoner vibe to it.
Ooh, okay, I'm gonna check it out.
It does. It is frustrating that those shows don't seem to take hold very well in modern age. I don't know what it is.
Well, and that was actually back when having a season-long story arc was the exception.
Oh yeah, true.
And, did you guys ever see on Fox that show Prophet?
Yes. Oh, I loved Prophet. That was a panel show.
Yeah, it was just crazy how good that show was. Well, I didn't know it was a Stephen Cannell show. That makes sense.
It was one of the later shows that he did, but it was good.
Well, like Wise Guy. I mean, that's the thing. Like Wise Guy, I think, was one of the first shows that would really have like an extended story where it wasn't just the procedural of the week. And now we're spoiled with those kinds of shows. But yeah, really for a long time in the 80s and 90s, they would try that stuff, and it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Because they just couldn't gather enough of an audience.
It's a different world that we live in now. I mean, people are more patient, more patient in some ways and more impatient in other ways.
Impatient,
right? It's like they're much more willing to sit through a serialized story, but they want it quickly. So, Game of Thrones all day long, but let me binge all the episodes in a sitting. So, I appreciate that. I respect that. I mean, there's definitely a longer conversation you could have about is that the way comics are ultimately going to go because people like buying the trades?
Yeah. What do you think about that, John? Do you think more people just wait for the trades now?
Yes, I absolutely do.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
and
I think
also
we're in a binge culture. I think that's what they do.
I think it's partially that. I also think, frankly, it's the price of a single comic is really getting crazy.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, that's why I do appreciate Image coming along and going, hey, guess what? We've got self-contained stories, and you can read the first trade, and it's less than what the big two are charging for their trades.
Yeah.
No, it's a new world, and that's why when DC was kind of stumbling, it's like, hey, you guys better get your shit together, because Image is doing it at a cheaper price, and they're able to compete, and also because it's all self-contained and creator owned. The creators are like, well, we'll only charge $3 a comic, whereas DC and Marvel are flirting with $5 an issue, and it's like, I don't know, man. I kind of miss those days when I had $10 and could walk away with like 8 comics.
Yeah. I mean, thank God for DC doing the $2.99 for all the Rebirth stuff right now, because
yes.
I would be broke. I'm buying everything and reading everything, and I don't know how anyone does it. And you definitely have to, pick your battles of which book you want to read and what you're going to wait for trade. But I wonder if Marvel's going to follow suit. That's the real question, isn't it?
Well, but then Marvel's got the digital unlimited, and that's a hell of a buy. And I have a lot of friends that were lapsed readers that now are back, and they're like, I could be 6 months behind. That's okay.
See,
and that's the other thing. That's only 6 months behind.
Yeah, that's not a long time. I mean, in our world, you'd just be one trade behind, and you could catch up on that in a day. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. No, it's very interesting, and no, and in fact, your other work with TV and stuff, I think that's really a fascinating moment right now, where God, there's so much scripted TV out there.
It's nuts.
And
it's nuts.
All the platforms, and I mean, you can't watch everything. I mean, you can't. I have Netflix and Amazon Prime. And every now and then I think about Hulu, and it's like, oh, I really want to see that James Franco 11/22/63, for example.
Oh yeah.
And I don't have Hulu, so I'm like,
same here. And then Netflix just did a deal with CW, so I think this just got announced a few months ago that all of the CW shows will air after the finale airs of the season. The next day, the whole season will be up on Netflix.
That's cool.
Which is pretty cool, because a lot of people were, you have to wait almost a year to get your next season in if you binged everything, in a day. So
sure.
I think that's great. I mean, I don't know what that's going to mean for, CW.com and CBS.com and all those places that were trying to show their own stuff. But it's a whole new universe out there, and I think everyone's running to catch up.
Well, I also remember Les Moonves of CBS saying that he was kind of frustrated, and he's like, we produce all the CSIs, and we pay for them, and yes, we get money back from our sponsors when we air the shows. Meanwhile, USA will run the reruns, get a rating that's pretty close to ours, haven't spent a dime on production, and not only are getting sponsor money, but also cable subscription money. And I mean, and that's the thing. That's the current dynamic that cable, while it still exists, it's out there. And also, I've also heard them say maybe we're rushing too quickly to Netflix and not serving that basic cable audience and making our money, licensing the show that way before we do make the deal with Netflix. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's really, I mean, again, I'm a broadcast nerd, so I can't help but watch me. And also, meanwhile, my corner of broadcasting is going the way of newspapers, and CBS is like, hey, how about if we dump radio?
Oh,
and it's like, oh my God, you're going to dump radio?
Is it happening? I don't want to live in that world. Oh no.
Well, but they want to, they want a movie partner. Because every other network, obviously ABC has Disney, sure, and NBC has Universal and Comcast and all of that, and CBS doesn't have. I mean, they had Paramount. I'm very confused.
Yeah.
Well, maybe when Sumner Redstone finally walks away, we'll see how all that shakes out. But boy, this is all broadcast nerd shit. But I know
for comics is like Z.
Yeah. Can you talk, please, about when Solomon Grundy might be showing up in Birds of Prey?
I mean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, but they're used to my show, and I mean, I dip into these other areas because I am fascinated by what's happening, and I, as someone who used to cover sports, covering comics and really geek media and stuff, I just think this is a really fascinating time.
It's a good time to be a geek, that's for sure. So wait, so who's been around longer, Comic Geek Speak or Word Balloon?
They are a couple months older than me.
Oh, they beat you by a couple months.
It's a close rivalry.
Yeah. No, that's I think we were all kind of inspired around the same time.
Yeah.
The Fanboy Radio, I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I have heard of it, but I never listened to it. Yeah.
Well, they were really the first that did a weekly show that would do interviews and stuff. And I called in a few times as a listener. And absolutely, because they were like really, really early on. Because they were out of, and they still are, I think, Texas Christian University's public radio station.
Are they still around?
They are, but they're very infrequent because their show runs on Sunday evenings at 6 or 5 or something. And I know that they get a lot of conflicts with Texas Christian sports.
Oh, wow.
So if it's a game on, then their show gets preempted.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, so
it is
and also
jocks versus nerds all the way to radio.
It's true. It's absolutely true. So yeah, like I was originally going to do a documentary about comics and Chicago's influence in comics.
Oh wow!
And had a videographer, and I interviewed Azzarello and my friend Doug Klaba, who's a painted cover artist, and this company out of Chicago called Moonstone that did a lot of crime comics. And I really wanted it to be about crime comics in particular. And I interviewed Max Allen Collins about Road to Perdition and Dick Tracy and Ms. Tree and all that stuff. So, but my videographer kind of like flaked out on me. And I had all the interviews, and I'm like, well, what if I take the audios and set up a website and post those? So I started that in May of 2005, and I think Comic Geek Speak started in March of 2005.
Oh, curses! Spoiled again.
No, no. I don't feel. I know you guys are teasing too, but no, I don't think that way. No, I want to hear more good comic podcasts. That's why I was really happy that Ben and Heath are kind of really amping up what they're doing with the Comics Writers Panel.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, they're so funny, and just to be able to sit there and riff about Thor, or one time we did listener questions or something. It's just It's been really great. I really wish they'd do more. I want like a weekly podcast from my podcast. I have very high expectations from you guys. I want to be able to get on my commute and put on my weekly podcast. You guys cannot have lives outside of this world. So
honestly, I really think doing stuff like this is kind of social. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like talking to you and getting to know you guys a little bit better, and then I'll see you guys at a convention, and it's like, oh, that's great. That's how.
Will you be at New York Comic Con?
I am 90% certain. There's still a 10% doubt.
Okay.
But because I missed the last two because of radio conflicts, and one year I had surgery right before New York Comic Con, and I was like, a little too close to recovery time, and I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll skip it. So yeah, it's been like I think 13 was the last time I've been there. So yeah, I really want to get back to New York. So good, I'm glad. Are you both going to be there?
Well, it's not official yet. We're trying to figure out our scheduling with the 100, but I think it's a 90% chance that we'll actually be there. And we've never been to New York Comic Con.
Oh God,
yeah.
It's a clusterfuck. I mean, it really is. There's no other way to say it. It really is. I mean, it's so much fun. Obviously, it's New York, and it's great seeing everybody and so many of the not only the current people, but a lot of the old timers, because they, when they had to live near DC and Marvel, being in New York and stuff, will, obviously put roots down there and still will show up to New York. But man, the Javits Center is just too small to handle that show. And when they combined it with the anime show, it's like, what are you idiots doing?
Oh no.
It was bad enough when it was just comics and film. And I mean, I'm interested in this year. They're doing, so much stuff off site.
Oh yeah.
They're doing stuff at the Hammerstein, and I can't remember if it's the Hammerstein Theater or Auditorium or whatever, but a lot of TV stuff is going to be there. And I want to see Madison Square Garden too, which is hilarious. I know, isn't that awesome? That's fantastic. I've covered a lot of fights in Madison Square Garden. I can't imagine a nerd thing over there.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. The first time I go to Madison Square Gardens for like a nerd thing. That would be
exactly. So I don't know. It's but it is. Well, the great thing though is, as bad as the main floor is, Artist Alley being in its own room. That's fantastic. That is just
the respect they deserve. Finally.
Yeah, no lie, and they curate it well, and it's really nice, and it's that sunlit room wing of the Javits, so it's really, really great. But yeah, just getting there, it's like that scene in Metropolis where the workers are shuffling off to work and they're just so tightly like in that giant crowd, just kind of barely able to move. Oh God, Dio and Kyle Higgins, I've seen them with like the biggest scowls on their face going the opposite direction. And we're just in a sea of people. And I'm like, don't worry, man. Like another 10 minutes of this and you'll get to where you need to go. And they're like, oh, yeah.
Lord. Okay, so we have a lot to look forward to. Well, it'll be really fun to see everyone there if we get to make it out. Like, yeah, I think I've been to New York once in my life.
Same here.
Have you had any good Dan DiDio stories yet?
Only that he's been nothing but lovely. We met him for the first time at the WonderCon event where they were announcing the Rebirth stuff, which is actually how we found out we got the book. Because no one had told us we were doing the book, and we got a call from the publicist. Like, we had turned in our pitch, and we were kind of waiting, and we got a call from the DC publicist saying, so, we're trying to figure out the WonderCon schedule. Just wanted to know, are you guys going to be available, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, what? So... And then we put the phone on mute while I cried profusely. Yeah, and then we got back on. So, yeah, no, we met Dan there for the first time, and he was lovely, gave us big hugs, and was super excited about the book. And Jim and everyone. Yeah. It was, nice. We literally were thrown into the fire that day.
It was a lot of wide-eyed staring around at people and going... Those people have been doing this forever, and now I'm on a stage with them, and that's weird.
I remember we introduced ourselves to Tom and those guys, because they all know each other, so they were all huddled and chatting like bros, and we were kind of standing off to the side like, no one's talking to us, what do we do? And then we introduced ourselves, and, I mean, just immediately, everybody was like, okay, you're in. Welcome.
That's awesome.
It was so great. Why? Do you have some really fun dance stories that we need to know?
Well, I always, I always break into my Dan DiDio imitation, which is like half Yogi Bear and half Jackie Mason. All right, listen, I think what you're doing is great, and I really want to welcome you to the family and be in DC Nation. And Sundays I do Q&A where I ask people what their first comic was, and Oh
my God, I'm literally applauding. That was
thank you,
bravo, John.
That was really my in with the DC people, Jan Jones. And Fletcher, Fletch Chu Fong. The two of them they're like, hey man, like we were waiting for you. They're like, do more Dan.
Oh my God. Okay, I can't wait to email Fletcher tomorrow and be like, guess what I heard.
Yeah, it was wild. In San Diego, they put us on a panel about DC Rebirth. And when they told us we were going to be on this panel, we didn't know who we were going to be on the panel with because none of the panelists were listed. So we showed up and, and there's Dan and Jim and they're like, Jeff will be here in a minute. And then it was Christopher Priest.
Oh, yeah. I lost my proverbial shit. We went backstage.
Wow. Hell yeah.
And I like actually threw my bag down. I said, Shawna, I'm going to go pee. And I ran to go to the bathroom and Shawna texts me, you won't believe who's back here. And I remember running backstage and it's Christopher Priest. And I ran up to him like a crazy person. And I grabbed his hand and I said, you wrote the best Black Panther run I've ever read. I'm such a fan, blah, blah, blah. He was nothing but generous and lovely, but I completely embarrassed myself within the first 20 seconds of being back there.
I understand. No, he's great. And I haven't had him on the show yet. And I'm such a fan. And I hope to have him on one day. So,
and he even said, we couldn't give that book away back when it came out, and everyone seems to love it now. I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah, I was reading it too. No, I know what you mean, man.
He's writing Deathstroke.
Oh,
I know. I'm really excited. Yeah, that hasn't come out yet, has it?
The Rebirth just came out.
Oh, okay, cool. I've the radio jobs kept me busy, and I've missed my last two.
It's crazy.
Wednesdays, including today.
Do you have like a pull list still? I had to create one online just to keep track of everything because it's too much.
And this week,
yeah, and no, because my pull list was, my box was like filling up and everything, and I'd be like, well, I don't know if I like that anymore. So I've got enough of a good relationship with a lot of the local stores in the city that I don't need a pull list. They give me a pull list rate because they're like, oh, you're helping us sell books with your show.
Nice.
So, well, I know. Isn't that awesome? I seriously, yeah. Honestly, that's been the really, really nice. The two things, the retail side and the creative side have been both very supportive of what I do. And that's really cool.
Well, you're doing it because you love it. And I think that's what everyone, look, you don't make much money writing this comic book,
Sure.
but you don't do it for the money. Everyone is doing it because they love it. And I think that's what makes this industry so unique, unlike the others, where it is about money and it is about getting your face out there and whatever. And this, I'd be happy to sit in a room and write this book for the rest of my life and not make a penny. Don't tell DC that, but because I love it,
I understand. No, I feel the same way. And that has been the fun thing about podcasting is, I would have always loved to have done a radio show like this. And now because narrowcasting seems to be viable, it's like, all right, this is cool. And I'll even say, I am making a little bit of money on this, and it helps the costs on the show and getting to conventions and stuff like that. But it's nice. I'd love to expand it. I'd love to, I'd love to have a Word Balloon network the way Hardwick has the Nerdist thing going and stuff like that.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, I was about to say something that could be interpreted as rude, which is you have an amazing voice for radio, but I didn't want you to think that you don't have a beautiful face for everything else.
No, you guys are. You seriously, not to get maudlin, but you guys have literally seen me at my worst. I was fighting Trim 2 years ago, and some personal things happened that have really, it's like you fight through the dark days and you
kidding?
Get back to where
we ordered pizza for lunch today. It's getting ugly over here, John.
I told them before we started recording, I'm like, listen, it's got to be audio because video screws up my my software, recording software. And they're like, please, we've been sitting around our house writing all day. You don't want to see us right now. And I'm like, all right, no problem.
It's pretty gruesome.
Well, and also, God, I so packed wrong for San Diego. I was like a ball of sweat when I met you guys. I mean, that's why, Jesus.
You'd walk out of the hotel and you're just dripping. It's awful.
It was ridiculously humid for people who weren't in San Diego, and I'm sure you've heard it from other podcasts. It was just real. I mean, and shame on us. We're right there on the ocean. I mean, and I know you guys are in LA too, but it's like, especially as Midwesterners and everything, landlocked Chicago. Well, we got the lake, but that's not like. That's not like having the ocean, and certainly San Diego is just like one of the most beautiful cities in the country.
Plus, it raises 400 degrees just with the body heat of all the people there. I mean, Lord.
I know. God. Well, I kept you guys too long because also I noticed that it's probably 7 your time, so I wanted you guys to go have dinner or something like that, and get back to your regular life.
Eat the rest of that pizza and start working on Birds of Prey issue 5.
Excellent. Can't wait. Next issue is September 14th.
Yeah.
And that's issue.
Yeah, so excited about that one. Hopefully everyone sticks with it, and I don't know. Well, I'm so worried that people won't read it.
Hey, seriously, I really love the Rebirth issue. I will go out and grab issue 1 from Chicago Comics in the next couple of days, now that it's the Labor Day weekend as we're talking.
All right, and then if we see each other at New York Comic Con, we'll have a few to talk about.
Absolutely. No, that'd be great. And seriously, pleasure to talk to you and get to know you a bit better. Please come back.
So much fun. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
So there you go, Julie and Shawna Benson. Make sure you check out Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, issue 3. No, issue 2, because they started with a 0 issue. Issue 2 comes out September 14th. In the meantime, look forward to some great programming coming up in September on Word Balloon. Got great guests coming up. Brian Bendis is back with a new conversation. We also have a conversation we recorded in March, but Brian just wanted to hear it. I let the guests, full disclosure, if the guest accidentally lets out a spoiler or some sort of information that they feel something, I don't want that in the public, I do edit. It's okay. It's comic books, folks. It's not cancer curing. Nobody is withholding information that would hurt the public in any way. It's entertainment journalism, and sometimes that means, again, these guys and women get excited about the stories that they tell, and sometimes we got to make a few snips. So anyway, that conversation, Brian got really busy, and you'll hear about some of the crazy things he's been doing on the next episode of Word Balloon. But we'll also bring this great conversation from March in the weeks ahead. But great long 2-hour Bendis discussion coming up on the next Word Balloon. Also, this weekend, the 9th through the 11th, Cincy Comic-Con is on its way, and I am going to be doing a lot of panels. Honestly, I can never thank the folks at Cincy Comic-Con, Kendall, Kara Moore, Tony Moore, great people, great hosts. Bill is another guy that, and forgive me, Kendall and Bill, for not remembering your last names, but these are really good guys and women that run this fine show and are always incredibly nice to me. They let me come out. They let me choose the panels that I want to do. which is insane. And because, Tony Moore is Tony Moore, lots of great artists show up. And there are return people like the Revival team of Tim Seeley, Mike Norton, and Jenny Frison. They're all going to be there. Kate Leth is going to be there. I'm trying to think of others. Well, I'll tell you about some of the panels that I'm doing, and that might get you excited. I'm really happy that the convention sponsors have decided to fly out my good friend Marty Pasco. We are doing the first panel on Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. That's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to do it. At 5 o'clock, right after that, Get to Know Azzarello. Brian Azzarello coming in, talking about some of his great new books like Moonshine that's coming up from Image with the 100 Bullets team. And also, I want to say it was American Monster, I think is his Aftershock book. I'm really enjoying it. I want to confirm it is American Monster. I'm looking at the latest issue right now. And, of course, his work on The Dark Knight 3. So it's going to be a lot of fun to talk to Brian Azzarello. On Saturday, I'm going to be doing a panel with independent creators Jim Rugg, Alexis Zinnett, Sarah Dyer, and Kyle Starks. Really looking forward to that. That's going to be great. Then at 1 o'clock, Spotlight on Mark Waid. Cannot wait. That's going to be a fantastic conversation. I love Mark. I miss him. I haven't seen him in a while, but that's going to be great. Then 3 o'clock, I mentioned before, the entire 100 Bullets team is here at Cincy Comic-Con. Brian Azzarello, Eduardo Riso, the wonderful artist, interiors, and Dave Johnson, the excellent cover artist. So it's called 100 Bullets, First Shot, Last Call. Really looking forward to that conversation. I always, Chip Zdarsky and Matt Fraction, we did a panel with them a couple years ago about sex criminals. Last year it was Rick and Tony Moore and Mike Hawthorne talking about Fear Agent. So those are always really great conversations. Then Saturday at 5 o'clock, I'll be doing the horror panel, which will feature Ming Doyle, Mike Norton, John Lehman, Evan Dorkin, and Andy Ballinger. So that'll be a lot of fun. Then Saturday night, they're doing the art auction party, and emphasis on party because unlike your typical art auction, there's going to be a lot of games being played with the audience. There are going to be raffle prizes in addition to the pieces of art being auctioned. So you're going to win something, and you have a good chance of winning something. You're going to have a chance of winning a great prize in addition to possibly bidding on something. But I know last year they also put original art in some of the raffle stuff. But this is going to be a lot of fun. Music, food, drinks. Can't recommend the art auction party enough. Sunday morning, we're going to do, I think, am I doing this one? Reinventing the Wheel with Dennis Hopeless, Kate Leth, Mark Waid, Jason Latour, and Brian Azzarello. Looking forward to that. Then I will be doing... What's the last one? Is that my last one? I think that's my last one. But that's plenty. So I'm very excited, and that not only will the attendees get a chance to see that stuff live, in the weeks ahead, interspersed with my new conversations on Word Balloon, I'll be sending the Cincy Comic-Con panels out to you as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to it next weekend, and can't wait to tell you more. And I'll give you more information about it on the next episode of Word Balloon. But in the meantime, today's episode brought to you by In Stock Trades at InStockTrades.com. As I said, so many volumes of Birds of Prey from the various creator teams are available at InStockTrades.com. Also, other collections like Invincible Iron Man, the premier hardcover, Volume 2, War Machines, and that, of course, is Brian Bendis, along with Mike Deodato, and the book is 50% off, just $12.49. You can get Jessica Jones' trade paperback Avenger, getting ready for the return of Jessica's Alias with Brian Bendis and Mike Gaydos. Can't wait. These are other artists that have touched Jessica over the years. Where did they touch you, Jennifer? Jessica? Whatever. Anyway, this book is, what's the price over here? I'm slow today, I'm sorry. 50% off, $9.99. How about Scalped, Book 5, the deluxe edition? I'm so glad that they are treating Jason Aaron and R.M. Guerra's Scalped to this kind of premier deluxe edition. Book 5 is 50% off. It's just $14.99. One of the great Vertigo runs ever. You've got Superman, Lois, and Clark with Dan Jurgens and Lee Weeks. This is the convergence miniseries or post-Convergence miniseries that led up to what's going on in DC Rebirth with the real Superman, now that he's back, the real Lois Lane, now that she's back, and their real son. How about that? Pretty interesting stuff. The young Superboy in training. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it starts right here in Lois and Clark. 50% off, just $8.99. Got to point out the Omega Men. Hats off to the Harvey Award-winning Tom King. He won for his great series, The Sheriff of Babylon. But you can get the Omega Men, The End Is Here trade paperback. That's the full run. It is, 42% off, just $14.49 at InStockTrades.com. Great deals, great savings, great books waiting for you. $50 or more on your order, you receive free shipping. Help out my friends. They have an excellent website, and they're just waiting for your shopping interests at InStockTrades.com. Thanks for listening to Word Balloon. Another episode coming up before the weekend. And, man, I'm going to have a busy week because I'm doing interviews left and right this week before Cincy Comic-Con. And then I'll be doing all the panels at Cincy Comic-Con. And really looking forward to presenting all that information to you in the days and weeks ahead. It's going to be a very busy September, where we've already got 2 episodes in September for you. More coming. Thanks a lot for listening. Thank you, as always, for your support. It really means a lot knowing that all of you are out there listening and enjoying what I try to do each week. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2016.